Recording is in progress.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. So we have now week 49 of the IGU Summit is beginning on this May 12th, Thursday. As I begin each of these events, I do acknowledge those who came before us on this land. I say land acknowledgement. So we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we are committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on here in the Greater Toronto Area is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Wendat, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we are on is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So going on, I wanted to have or mention that I do have a hard cutoff today. Again, it's not as bad as last week, but I will be needing to get off by 1:30. The events coming up, the first thing that I want to mention is our upcoming second Tea Diplomacy Initiative event. This takes place on Saturday, May 21st, which is International Tea Day. And again, I am putting the link actually for the first time for that event right into the chat. So there is also the 2022 AHIABGA UnityNet Abraham Project tree planting. So this globally coordinated event takes place on Sunday, June 5th, 2022, starting at whatever hour the local residents choose. I have decided that we would probably start at 12 noon, although that may change. But this is the time in the Eventbrite right now. So other events that are coming up include World Migratory Bird Day, which is Saturday, May 14th, 2022. So World Migratory Bird Day is a global campaign which aims to raise awareness of migratory birds and the need for international cooperation to conserve them. Formerly known as International Migratory Bird Day, it's celebrated on the 8th of May 8th of May. I'm not sure if the date is right. This holiday was initiated in 1993 by the Smithsonian Migratory Birds Center. It's supported by the UN Environment Program as well as a number of international organizations. Observed on the second Saturday in May. So the second Saturday should be I'm just looking at my calendar, should be the 14th. So it is right when I wrote 8th of May. So the second Saturday of May, this year, 14th, and it's celebrated in Mexico, Central and South America, and the Caribbean, as well as Canada and the US. So again, I put that information into the chat, editing as I go. Also Sunday, May 15th. So the following day is the International Day of Families. So every May on day 15, the International Day of Families is observed on the 15th of May every year. The day was proclaimed by the UN General Assembly in 1993 and reflects the importance of international community attaches to families. Again, the chat are links and information. On Monday, May 16th, is also a busy day because it's International Day of Light. So the International Day of Light is celebrated on the 16th of May every year. and it's actually the anniversary of the first successful operation of the laser in 1960 by physicist and engineer Theodore Maiman. The day is a call to strengthen scientific cooperation and harness its potential to foster peace and sustainable development. And on that same day, May 16th, is also the International Day of Living Together in Peace. So living together in peace is all about accepting differences and having the ability to listen to, recognize, respect, and appreciate others, as well as living in a peaceful and united way. So we have a lot of interesting events coming up in May. And of course, there is one more day that I'm missing. The following day, Tuesday, May 17th, is actually called World Telecommunication and Information Society Day. So that day, World Telecommunication and Information Society Day, celebrated all around the world on the 17th of May. Since 1969, marks the founding of ITV, the International Telecommunication Union, and the signing of the first International Telegraph Convention in 1865. So again, in the chat are some links to that day and the relevant organization. I do also mention, as I have in the past couple of weeks, that this month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month, which is a worldwide event where mental health is wealth, especially during Mental Health Awareness Month, which is celebrated in May. The stigma around good mental health treatment has long existed, even though this has started to change. People hesitate to seek help or even talk about it with their loved ones for fear of being judged. As I am just reading on National Day Mental Health Awareness Month. So at this point, I will share my screen and the presentation for today. I wanted to mention, okay, sorry. I wanted to mention that I did add one more slide, so it will take a little bit longer than usual again. Actually based on the discussions. Oops, I'm going to stop the share because I did not click share sound. Try. So I did add one more slide based on the discussions we had very recently. So as always, as I start this presentation, I give recognition to our supporters and sponsors, in particular Andrew Networks, the Door Opening Network of the Global Unity Network, our UnityNet. So these weekly Thursday Zoom calls are committed to take place through December 29th, 2023, with Andrew Networks also rebroadcasting these and other episodes on Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador.org domain, AHIABGA.org, which are being redirected to the UCIT-TV site. You'll also notice the logo indicates that this is 21 to 23 IGU Summit. We do plan to continue delivering these events until the end of 2023, in alignment with the UN Global Compact 2123 vision and strategy. So again, I put this information as into the chat. So you do see the logos on this page of the Maui Aloha Project, the 5 Points Youth Foundation, the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Future Lift Foundation, Global Peace Let's Talk, the American International Education Federation, EDFU Foundation, the Conservancy Trust, Zagreus Foundation, LA Global Foundation, as well as our own logos for the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation, the Greater Unity Network, the Indigenous Unity Flag, the Unity 4K Clubs, the HEPTA Matrix Partnership Template of the UnityNet and UnityNet International, and a number of others. Again, in the chat, there are some links. So I just wanted to go on. I'm seeing some messages in this chat, but I will have to come back to them later. It is Andrew Networks that donates our hosting and promotional support services. So Andrew Networks, a brand and a name owned by RXTC Export Trading Company, comprising various social media channels, including TRN TV, Universal Citizens Media Networks, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many more. Andrew Networks, not only our primary sponsor supporting the promotional ecosystem for the UnityNet initiative, the Indigenous Global Unity Summit, which continues again through December 29th, 2023. Andrew's also our Yes, Yes, Yes partner, helping to open our doors so that members of our network are able to discover their inner selves and passions, and where Andrew Networks is working with people who occupy the various nodes of our global unity network so they can come together with the people of the network acting like a net to support the dreams of our members. So they can leverage those passions, transform their visions of a better future for themselves and their communities into a reality that makes sense for both themselves and their communities, however they might define what that better future is collectively, as they seek to work together in partnership and leave no one behind. So again, in the chat is some additional links. So Andrew also founded the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists in September 2019, with this focus on localizing sustainable development goals during this decade of action and delivery on the SDGs 2020 to 2030. Andrew appointed me as Ad Hoc International Advisory Board representative for Canada, La Francophonie, and the Commonwealth of Nations, originally published in January 2020. I was appointed as representative for Turtle Island in 2021. So in the chat, you'll see the link to the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board Goodwill Ambassadors. So my name is Lloyd Halferty, the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, Sustainable Society Consultant for Energetic University, headquartered in Manhattan. I am, however, located in the city of Markham, in the Don River watershed, German Mills Creek subwatershed, which drains into Lake Ontario, the lowest and last of the North American Great Lakes in the Greater Toronto Area, Southern Ontario, Canada. Energetic University is a private 501(c)(3) nonprofit company in New York City, a member of the UN Global Compact, a United Nations academic impact member and partner. It is a virtual university created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance with their local environments. Energime does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into the communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth solutions, along with systems for sustainably managing local waste streams and protecting local water resources. So Energime is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ. Energime University also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of all the various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. Again, in the chat, you will find the contact information. An important part of our network, I am the co-founder administrator of the We Energime Global Cooperation Turtle Island international civil society organization that is seeking to undertake life value peace education in the context of life learning gardens. So we have a link to a Facebook site, as you see on the screen. I was also designated, as I said earlier, as a Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles, with a portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities. As this member of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists, we are seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as helping local communities to establish interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives that will come together and pledge to support all of the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are globalizing the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, while also seeking ways to leave no one behind. Chat, you will find some links. I am the co-founder of the Global Unity Network, which is being established by UnityNet International. We helped to create UnityNet Africa and Diaspora and all of the other global groups in Asia, Americas, and Europe. The Global Unity Business Group originally came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow the Global Unity Network, which is now referred to mostly as UnityNet. As a result, the original Global Unity Business Group, which I've been describing as a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure, set up as Life Learning Gardens, along with a hybrid virtual learning platform that we call the VCN, or Interchange for Peace, is now being rebranded as UnityNet International, in alignment with our first continental chapter, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. So while the original Global Unity Business Group was created in order to formalize the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals, starting with the SDGs, which is being done by the establishment of the Global Unity Network, or UnityNet, which includes the Unity Gardens and Unity Learning Networks, along with so many other dedicated UnityNet nodes and chapters, which are all important components of our network of networks. The latest way that I describe who we are is as a network of people and organizations supporting the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals, which are currently the SDGs, and the global transition to a collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Essentially, we are creating a global empowerment network for all of our members, including the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who are helping to implement the various local regenerative climate smart solutions that are required to achieve the collaborative regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So it is important to note that the existing social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn groups that we've been using are being used as a placeholder as we build a global network prepared to launch, where we will eventually get all of the people, companies, and nodes in the network onto what we call an Interchange for Peace VCN, where we will then be able to gain access to the many tools and services that are available there, where we can much more easily collaborate in order to locally implement all of the globally coordinated real-world events, projects, enterprises, and infrastructure. Again, in the chat are some links. Global Unity Network, UnityNet, was also created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with those 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Our goal is to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind because the existing economic paradigm very much focused on making money for those who are already wealthy by extracting resources through the exploitation and overexploitation of people in the natural world. And therefore, the majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. So our focus is thus on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by helping local communities deliver the various regenerative local climate smart enterprise solutions that people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies require in order to thrive. So as an entry point, we are focused in particular on those communities that are the most food insecure. Again, some links So UnityNet is promoting the delivery of this suite of practical solutions to achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals during this period until 2030. We are focused on using tools of humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing on female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises, using hybrid, virtual, and hands-on education and training and learning programs, platforms, and curricula, with a primary focus on delivery of the various humanitarian entrepreneurship skills training in practical settings, or what we call practicum learning, along with leveraging the various open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist local INAP collaborative teams to establish local collaborative open source Unity Garden classrooms in all local communities around the world. So the Unity Garden classrooms are set up in collaboration with existing schools in local communities that are used for the local and remote and virtual delivery of the practical learning programs for all of the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneur members, so they can learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional, medicinal, and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their own local communities, as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, and internationally, in order to produce income and therefore create prosperity for themselves and for the people in their own local communities. For all people on all continents, again, with the intention and goal of leaving no one behind. So in the chat, I put the Unity Smart Cities Network. So we do promote through our virtual social marketing, all of the members of our network. We use all of the various practical social media networking trade tools, including those of the modern fourth industrial revolution, combining the wisdom of crowds with the deep indigenous knowledge of both our ancestors and the living indigenous people of this earth, in order to learn from each other about how to share the abundance of this planet in order to create productive, regenerative, climate smart landscapes wherever people may live in and around each and all of our local communities. So our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity, ensure abundance for all, and ultimately restore the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and beautiful planet. The Ad hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals is intended to help everyone in each of their own local communities establish local teams of humanitarian entrepreneurs, as well as the local community empowerment network, the INAP collaboratives, that will provide support and ensure the success of the local cooperative humanitarian enterprises, starting with the Unity Gardens, that will be starting to be established in the local communities across our global network, most likely starting in Africa, but also here in North America and possibly in Asia as well, ideally in the near future. This process of establishing local INAP collaboratives is done by taking part in the Abraham Project, as I gave you the link earlier. This is the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies we plan to do starting on World Environment Day, June 5th, in only a couple of weeks, where we have the communities establish these twin trees of peace and reconciliation, along with twin Unity Gardens, doing this through the CTP program, process of twinning the local community garden humanitarian enterprises, and also twinning the local community INAP collaboratives. So what we're building here is a global network of local INAP collaboratives, where all of the members of each local INAP will be interconnected and watching over and talking to each other at the global level, where each local INAP will have a diverse set of members from 7 different sectors in every community. So public, private, civil society, academic, interfaith, finance, and orange economy, the creative sector. We'll also be watching, promoting, and helping each other, supporting the local entrepreneurs in each local community who will be empowered by all of the members of the global network, and where all activities will also be intended to be transparent to all members of the global network, including all members of the local INABC. We also have them make sure they are accountable to and for the success of the local collaborative Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise. So if the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are living in the local community fail to be successful as they build and run their local collaborative Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise, their business, provided they are dedicated to making it successful for all members of the community, and especially for those who are most marginalized in each of their local communities, it will not be entirely on their own shoulders alone, barring, of course, some unforeseen circumstances, such as the insurance industry and lawyers like to call acts of God, but rather such failure should also be at least partially blamed on the local community INAB Collaborative's members for not having lived up to their obligations to support and empower the local community humanitarian entrepreneurs who are building, operating, maintaining, and delivering all the various community programs, events, interventions, goods, and services that will be delivered in the context of their local community humanitarian enterprise. I, as always, suggest as well that every community garden humanitarian enterprise should also be established as a cooperative enterprise or business, where the idea is to set up the local community business as a co-op, so that the burden of running the business does not fall entirely on the shoulders of any single entrepreneur. We, of course, can use different business models in order to determine what business models might actually work best. So again, in the chat, I do put some information about cooperative enterprises. So the INAB collaboratives are established at the local level, where we are leveraging our unique process of community engagement, of course, through initially the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation and the ceremonies. This will be followed by ongoing community engagement and interaction through the regularly scheduled events that happen throughout the year, including the coordinated Book Fun festivals done in collaboration with the local INAB collaborative members, along with the CTP program for twinning the community activities, for twinned community organized tree planting and local regenerative public community infrastructure development projects and events, along with the Tea Diplomacy Initiative and the Dream Boards Initiative done in collaboration with the C4 group members. Identification of and engagement with local talents, artists and creative people in the Orange economy is for the purpose of promoting and showcasing not only their talent, but also as they promote the globalization of the global goals and the idea of a collaborative regenerative economy during any one of our either sunlight spectacle or other edutainment events. So we are open to other programs and activities that may be developed in the context of either the climate smart kitchens or forests or the climate smart gardens delivered by various organizations. We also support something called the Wheel of Life Farms, delivered by an organization called EPWT, and Spark Learning Centers or Climate Smart Learning Centers, delivered by an organization called PodNet. I did put this slide in for those who may have seen it before. The local INAB collaboratives are now being expanded to try to include more critical partners, including the Bridges of Hope organization from Kenya, focused on the training of the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs in the various regenerative and climate smart businesses and infrastructure solutions. So I should say that they are more of the coordination of the training in each local community. But also we would like to bring in BIMA International, the Black Emergency Managers Association, to help to bring together first responders, police, firefighters, paramedics, and others in order to help prepare the local entrepreneurs and enterprises, potentially position their businesses as hubs for taking action during emergencies or other significant incidents that may happen in the community. So I also have a placeholder for a virtual cultural exchange office of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, established for the purpose of supporting each of our own local communities, including the female and feminist and humanitarian entrepreneurs and the rest of the local INAP collaborative members, wherever it is that we each might live. So again, some links in the chat. I do want to mention that we did a tea diplomacy initiative during the week of solidarity with the people struggling against racism and racial discrimination, which was 21st to 27th March. In particular, we suggested to begin on Monday, March 21st, the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which was also World Poetry Day and the International Day of Forests. So we had a chance to do this virtual tea diplomacy event, which included having conversations related to the methods and process of enabling and implementing solidarity with the people struggling against racism and racial discrimination, and discussing some of the local poets and poetry that have influenced local cultures in each respective community, wherever the participants in these local discussions were living, and along with discussing the importance of establishing productive forests in all our local communities as biodiverse 3D polyculture food forests established as Unity Forest, Unity Gardens, managed in partnership with local Indigenous peoples and all levels of government in every local community and country as an essential part of a process of practical reconciliation with all of the Indigenous peoples of the world, one country, one community, and one watershed at a time. I will now play for you the poem that was played during the first tea diplomacy event. It's about 2.5 minutes, read by the poet Jack Black God, who is from a squatter camp called Diesloop in which is north of Johannesburg in South Africa. But before I do, I want to put in some information into the chat.
We are people of our own color. 7 seas and 1 big ocean. It doesn't matter how big, small, dark, light, Christian or not you are. We all come from the same origins. Origins that when we trace footprints lead us to the central heart of Africa. Because Africa should unite and nothing will bite. Instead, we will forever have peaceful nights. Africa uniting wouldn't be bad, instead you will never hurt. Trees! Allow me to be your garden at least, so that I could plant these poetical seed into your cultivative mind with harvestic thoughts of negativities. We are still enslaved by our own memories. Right now, my broken, beaten bone skeleton wants to escape this flesh. My soul is rejecting this temple hospitality of one. You see, we were never told about the secret ingredients they used to cook this system. This system was cooked with a foresight traditional pot, but we were never invited into the inns of financial taste. All you did, black child, was feast on that racism that was served to you on a silver platter, so that mahinya, 7 colors, the shininess of it could blindfold you. Your I have fought has made deals for dessert. But what about the main meal, black child? We are still enslaved by our own memories. See, once upon a time there was I reciting poems with meaningless senses and unengineered sentence language construction. Therapy of my words wounded so many innocent souls I'm lost in translation. Tongue clicks. Ubuntu transplant, guilty to innocent, endless transformations. I'm so confused in my lost thoughts. Perhaps I'm losing it, isn't it? Yes, I've been here and they've all been there, distant relatives. 300 Spartans, the rise of my ancestors to you, godly amen. The last breathless word you would inhale. We are still enslaved by our own memories, yet we are 7 seas and one big ocean.
Thank you. That was always a little bit inspiring of our movement here. So we now have completed our very first inaugural Tea Diplomacy Initiative event on that day, Monday, March 21st. During the virtual Tea Diplomacy Initiative event, we asked leaders and other high-level decision makers to sit down virtually, have a cup of tea with some of the UnityNet members at the grassroots level who are living in and doing work in the various marginalized communities around the world. So the conversations that we asked our participants to discuss during these moderated virtual casual conversations between the sustainable development decision makers, professionals, and other grassroots members who are doing some of the on-ground work in the various local communities in the Global Unity Network were related to the 3 themes that I mentioned earlier on that previous slide. So this event was co-hosted by the Global Unity Network, UnityNet International, which is building this network on behalf of the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, along with the Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development and Global Peace. Let's talk. So at this point, I do also want to play the music of Nubia M, a song called Fu Lan Lisio. As this is playing, I also put translated lyrics of the song into the chat. And the song is about 4.5 minutes long and is our theme song for the Global Diplomacy Initiative. We will play it as well as that poem that you just heard at every Tea Diplomacy event.
No sound, maybe?
So I wanted to mention as well during our first Tea Diplomacy Initiative event, so our partners did include Andrew Networks, the World Humanitarian Organization for Peace and Equity, Saga Foundation, Gemma Productions, We and Global Cooperation Turtle Island, Drawdown Markham, Climate Change Solutions Educational Training Hub, the Indigenous Global Unity Network, Carbon Shot Earth Sustainable Marketplace for Climate Solutions, the Unity Women and Feminists Network, Todd's and Kids South Africa, Jafo Uganda, the National Federation of Women Farmers and Appropriate Technology in Asia, based in Nepal, Twilight Foundation in Malawi, the Soweto CSI Council in South Africa, the Gemma Skaters Youth Development Program, Village Synergy in Uganda, along with the Global Unity Business Group, Humanitarian Enterprise, and Global Sustainable and Regenerative Development Corporation, which is UnityNet International. So together with these organizations that support and promote the IGU Summit event, including the 5 Points Youth Foundation, EdFood Foundation, FutureLit Foundation, and Cycle of Success. Again, I will put many of these links into the chat so that people will have them. So these are important partners of our network of networkers. Second, to make sure that we don't miss anyone. So what I also want to mention is that we are planning to do at least 2 more tea diplomacy events this year, including the second one, as I mentioned earlier, on Saturday, May 21st, International Tea Day, which is also World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development. The day celebrates not only the richness of the world's cultures, but also the essential role of intercultural dialogue for achieving peace and sustainable development. So our next Tea Diplomacy Initiative event, we will partner with the UnityNet Culture and Diversity members who are supporting the UnityNet international teams and plans to establish unique and culturally relevant local community garden infrastructure projects that reflect the local cultures of each country, city, community, or eco-village. And so the third Tea Diplomacy event will be on Saturday, June 18th, which is Sustainable Gastronomy Day, which we will potentially also partner with the Plant-Based Climate Smart Food Network, the South Markham Food Security Network, and the Virtual Urban Food and Farming Network, or our Urban Farming Network. Again, in the chat, I will put some information about International Tea Day. So this is an important day for us as well, because it is a symbol of the coming together of all peoples during these key diplomacy dialogue events. So the second Tea Diplomacy event is now live. People can register to attend. We're also looking to develop more partnerships. So if you want to promote your own local civil society organization, NGO, or humanitarian enterprise, please feel to contact me so that the Global Unity Network, or UnityNet, can also promote the work that you're doing to localize the global goals in your own local community. Again, in the chat is the link to the Eventbrite page. So I wanted to mention the collaborative events that we would like to do in 2022 that are related to the activities of the Global Unity 4K Club Network and the Unity Gardens Network, as well as the Unity Eco Village Network and Unity Biodiversity Network. Include as well the globally coordinated Abraham Project, coming up in a couple of weeks, the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for Global Cooperation, delivered locally in multiple communities by the members of UnityNet on World Environment Day, which is this coming Sunday, June 5th, in a little over a couple of weeks, which will allow us to begin establishing a global network of local INAB collaboratives, these interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives that will lead the way at the local level everywhere in local communities around the world to undertaking the globally coordinated events that we plan to do during the rest of the year. So again, there are some links to the different organizations or networks. So the launch event will be followed by bubble fun festivals. Community bubble fun festivals will be designed to allow youth and families to more easily learn and while having fun about the miraculous properties of bubbles, how bubbles can potentially allow humanity to more easily adapt, perhaps even to thrive in a warming, changing global climate, especially in areas of the world where the impacts of global warming and climate change we felt the most severely, including here in Canada, especially in the north, but in mountainous areas in places like sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. So some possible dates for this globally coordinated community bubble fun festivals are between August 9th, the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, which is also the International Day of Solidarity with the struggle of women in South Africa and Namibia, National Women's Day, or August 12th, which is International Youth Day, or August 19th, World Humanitarian Day. This opens up to having these local bubble fun festivals on any date between August 9th and August 19th, which is actually an 11-day window. We also have another key event that takes place on Global Cooperation Day, October 4th, through to World Food Day, October 16th. The Ubuntu Summit on October 4th, we did last year. This is the feast day of Saints Francis of Assisi and Blessing of the Animals Day, which are both celebrated by Catholic faith communities. So again, in the chat, you will find a link to last year's event. The fourth event that we do is the Global Coordinated Climate Smart Youth Forum, designed to allow youth and families from around the world to learn about and discuss the various regenerative climate smart agriculture and food growing solutions that support achieving SDG 2 and local circular regenerative economies that leave no one behind, along with learning about the Climate Smart Food Program and all of the various components of the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of globalization of the global goals and the smart virtual infrastructure, those Unity Gardens and the Interchange for Peace, PCN, that allow local community INAP collaboratives to gain access to all of the learning programs, the information, the education, the training, the related support programs, and the financial support systems that we've been promoting through the Global Unity Network, and that will in turn allow our local community members and families to implement the local regenerative climate smart humanitarian infrastructure and enterprise solutions in the context of their own neighborhoods and communities, wherever they might live in the world. So the primary host for the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week event this year will be Yali International Nigeria, who will be working in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria and the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, and as many of the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network as possible who may wish to contribute. So Yali International is divided into two arms, a youth education and leadership initiative. So Yali International, managed by Dr. Amadou Monday Amadou from UnityNet Nigeria. Again, in the chat, I will put many links to the organizations that I have mentioned. And the final event, hopefully this year, will be in the process of establishing the INAP collaboratives, of course, but we have the globally coordinated community tree planting event designed to establish 3D polyculture food forests in our local communities everywhere around the world, done in all of the local communities where local UnityNet INAP collaboratives have been established, where the members of each local community partnership wishes to establish a Unity Garden designed for delivering the various global unity learning programs, like the Tukitana ED Women Empowerment Program, the Global Unity 4K Club Humanitarian Entrepreneurship Learning Programs for educating young people, their families, and other community members about the various ways of achieving food and nutrition security, or SDG 2, Zero Hunger, at the local level, while also implementing many of the other global goals like climate action, biodiversity action, gender equality action, clean water action, clean energy action, peace, no poverty, and other community enterprise that also aim to leave no one behind. So this is where the last globally coordinated community Unity Forest Unity Garden tree planting event could potentially be done during this proposed Climate Smart Youth Forum week, likely to include a hybrid and in-person and virtual conference event. Again, in the chat, I put some of the relevant links. I want to mention as well that the Unity Gardens of the Unity Network encourage co-learning or intercultural collaboration, what is called two-eyed seeing. Unity Gardens are places where children are taught that no one being is greater than the next, that we are part and parcel of the whole, and that we are equal, that each one of us has a responsibility to the abundance of the system, and an understanding that all of the world's species, including our bio and eco-kin, have contributions to make for a better world. So I wanted to put in the chat a link to two-eyed seeing, or a to optimum guiding principle for intercultural collaboration, which is part of the Indigenous thinking. I mentioned as well the HUNT project of UnityNet International. It is a project proposal for the Russley Poverty Alleviation pilot projects that are managed by the Russley Institute in collaboration with the Global Unity Network and the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board. The Unity Honey project is designed to demonstrate the production of certified climate smart honey produced from wildflowers that are grown on restored landscapes, such as former mine sites or other industrial or currently degraded lands, in order to produce abundance and revenue from what was once wasteland. So the Unity Honey project is what we call a bee honey harvesting project intended to support the Science for Peace CSF program, or food certification system, and the demonstration of PAGI payments paid to the producers of certified products that are produced by our female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs, especially in support of and in partnership with the local Indigenous communities. So the Unity Honey project is designed as something that could potentially be universally applied in a number of different jurisdictions, no matter what country or continent or local community. So the project ties into this Abraham project process of integrating the CTP program for twinning or thrinning our local communities into the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board localization process, starting with these planting of trees of peace and reconciliation, and the undertaking of the local community ceremonies that help to bring together all of the 7 local partners that will establish the local INAP collaboratives in each local community, who will then, from that moment forward, be dedicated to empowering the local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who will work closely together with the members of the INAP collaboratives globally. So again, in the chat, I put some links to the Unity Honey project. Before we sign off, and I do have one more slide after this one today, I do invite our guest speaker to join us after these last couple of slides. I want to share everyone a message again of our education system by a gentleman by the name of Radhanath Swami. This video is about 5 minutes long, but does contain many important messages about things like compassion and kindness and integrity, inner beauty and happiness, character and values, leadership and success, love and hope, and an understanding of the true meaning of success.
What is happening to our system of education? It is said 50 years ago, some of the major problems in schools included sticking chewing gum under tables, talking in class, and missing deadlines. Today, our schools face gun and knife crime, bullying, and dangerous levels of stress, drug abuse, depression, and suicide. To effectively address the serious challenges that our children face, we need to consider not only the problems with individual students, but the very system of education that they are subjected to. Academic intelligence may make a child successful in the world, but compassion will make them useful. When we teach values alongside academics, we will find that children will be much happier, more successful, and will develop into great leaders that will change the future of our world. The word education is derived from the Latin word educare, which means to lead out or to bring out from within. Education is actually about bringing out the unique individual potential of every child, teaching them how to approach the hurdles, shortcomings, and setbacks of life, while empowering them to be vehicles of love and hope for the world. It is said, if you lose your wealth, you lose nothing. If you lose your health, you lose something. But if you lose your character, you lose everything. Without stressing these truths, the opposite will be understood by default. That is, if you lose your character, you lose nothing. If you lose your health, you lose something. If you lose your wealth, you lose everything. It should be a top priority of our education system to ensure that our children get this right. Imagine an education system where children are taught that the only time we should look down on someone is if we can help them up. Imagine a system where children are taught to judge beauty by what is within people's heart, not by their physical appearance. Imagine a system where character is given as much importance as competence, where children are taught that helping 1 billion people is even more valuable than being a billionaire, where as well as learning to raise their standard of living, they are also taught to increase their standard of giving, where children are taught to measure their success by how happy and fulfilled they are, and not how many letters they have after their names. An education system where developing intelligence goes hand in hand with developing compassion. Imagine if, as well as learning the history of our world, they are given the skills to change the future of it. Imagine if, as well as learning to navigate the world, they learn how to navigate their own minds. This is not an imagination. It is possible if we genuinely begin to value kindness over competence, character over success, and integrity above money. and in this way change the system in which our children grow and learn.
So I wanted to mention as well that Dr. Amadou, Monday Avenue, also reminded us recently that the process of change is like a revival, and together we can indeed make the world a better place, because positive change begins with you and I, and everyone can start something small, still be able to create the kind of change the world needs. So we call this each one helps one. As the world goes around, it can be made free from social problems. So we in the Global Unity Network, through the UnityNet International, are promoting humanitarian entrepreneurship and a future regenerative economy, which encompasses the concept of collaborative entrepreneurship, collaborative economy, and collaborative businesses. Cooperatives and such types of businesses are part of that. So the empowerment networks that we're building in all of our local communities through the ceremonies of the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation are intended to support and empower each type of local community cooperative enterprise the FFHEs wish to establish and operate them. So we believe that a collaborative regenerative economy can achieve far more positive outcomes for far more people, far faster than a purely competitive economy as it exists today. Of course, to keep prices down, there needs to be some competition within sectors, especially for those who are providing the same or similar goods and services in the same community. But we encourage something we call co-opetition rather than pure competition, which has a winner takes all mentality. So rather, we want our members to support each other's mutual success so that no one is left behind. In other words, Ubuntu in business. So I will put a link to our organization again, the Energy Global Cooperation Turtle Island. What I wanted to mention again is that the Global Unity Network is an empowerment network. We are a globally connected community support network of local networks. So you and I and UNAD, as we call them, UnityNet International and UnityNet African Diaspora, are here to help all of our members because we want the local cooperative humanitarian enterprises to thrive. This means the Unity Gardens that our female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs will secure and develop should be supported by all of the members and organizations in their local INAP collaborative. If we want people to get to the table and show up to the meetings where decisions are being made, this is also what UnityNet is about. So it's being created so we have representation at every one of those meetings where decisions are being made, especially at every time that there is a discussion about funding and will be recognized for their participation. So as Prophet Cox and Andrew says, if you're not on the table, you are on the menu. So also to get the marginalized trained and empowered is what we are doing. This means the youth, the elders, the rural, the homeless, and the refugees. So they should be sitting and sharing their voices using the language of holistic collaborative regenerative development, localized to empower the people in their own communities, especially on behalf of others who have been marginalized. So our network of network allows us to disseminate the information and invitations to these various events so that everyone in their network has the opportunity to participate and find a seat at that table. But they must be empowered and they must have the confidence and must choose to sit down at those meetings. So finally, as I wrote in the chat already, we energize global cooperation Turtle Island. These are the good, simple global UnityNet values that we want to be continuously promoted alongside the humanitarian entrepreneurship, what we call life value peace education. What I also wanted to mention about the Global Unity Network and our members is that we do support people, our humanitarian entrepreneur members in their communities, in all our relations, not corporations or faceless entities that lack empathetic souls. So this ends the opening of our IGU Summit. A little bit longer because there was an extra slide, but I'm hoping now that Nicholas Bilika from DRC is available to do his
Before we do
presentation.
that, Lloyd, I'm going to stop the recording to end this session, and then we're going to begin recording again, just to let you know.